impressive of 27 years of experience, including 18 years of teaching and 9 years in the software development. Now her role as associate professor and the head of the department of CSE at Gayatri Vidya Parishad College of Engineering in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. She has also taken an additional charge as a head of computer application. Ma'am holds the PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru Technology University, Hyderabad in the field of machine learning. Also, she has been actively involved in preparing the curriculum for BTech CSE in data science since 2020 and has extensive teaching, technical, and administrative experience across multiple departments and domains. Her experience includes implementing ISO standards for projects and leading KPI initiatives for SCI CMM level 4. Ma'am is a skilled team player, well organized and committed to quality. She is familiar with all stages of the system development life cycle and has sound technical knowledge in Java. She has successfully organized several faculty development programs and workshops and has acquired valuable knowledge in the medical domain by consulting for various hospitals, and also she has played a key role as a software consultant for institutions like Queen's NRI Hospital, Apollo Hospitals for delivering innovative solutions and fostering collaborations between academic institutions and the software industry. Ma'am is an active member of Institute of Engineers and published 30 articles in various journals. She holds one published patent and 4 granted patents and had guided over 80 projects. She has attended 40 plus faculty development programs and has served as a speaker in 5 of them. Dr. Anuradha ma'am has a vast experience and contributions to the field of data science and machine learning. Make her an invaluable resource for us today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Anuradha ma'am to share her insights and expertise with us, ma'am. Please, now we can start the session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
But your screen is not.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is that visible, madam?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is visible.
Yeah.
Ma'am, please make it a slideshow, ma'am.
It's slideshow only. Is that fine?
No, ma'am, it is not in a slideshow. It is just open the PowerPoint presentation.
So I think I have to share the entire screen. Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So today I would like to talk about understanding bias in AI algorithms and how is it affecting the decision making. So just my presentation will go on just talking about the main concepts of like what is bias and what is AI, what are AI algorithms, and how is this bias going to affect the decisions. Just like that, when I talk about bias in a human bias, if suppose I have any bias towards any of the opinion, definitely the decision will be towards the inclination to which I would be liking to. So in the same way, a bias will not give you a correct decision. So how is that? As like we have a human bias influencing the decisions of decisions which are inclined towards a person's the nature. Likewise, I would like to discuss about how this bias is affecting the decisions that have been given by the artificial intelligence. To start with, let me start with understanding what is artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, we know intelligence that is being artificial. Like if suppose I am, if someone says that I am intelligent, it means that the intelligence is inherent and I acquire through learning, I acquire through observing, I acquire through multiple resources upon which wherein my intelligence is being forecasted. So when I say that it is artificial intelligence, intelligence that is being imparted. So this is like artificial intelligence is a field of science concerned with building computers and machines that can reason, learn, and act in such a way that would normally require human intelligence, or that involves data whose scale exceeds what humans can analyze. So that is what we are imparting intelligence to the systems. So how are we going to impart the intelligence? Intelligence through observations, intelligence through experience, intelligence through learning. So it is a broad field that encompasses different disciplines, like even it includes computer science, data analytics, statistics, hardware, software engineering, linguistics, neurosciences, and even psychology also. So on an operational level for business use, AI is a set of technologies that are basically like on machine learning and deep learning. So suppose I said we are imparting intelligence to the systems. How are we imparting the intelligence? So we need to have some technology upon which, or a training upon which the intelligence is being imparted. So a model can be built up using machine learning as well as deep learning, or for data analytics, predictions, and forecasting, like object categorization, natural language processing, intelligent data retrieval, etc., etc. So this is how you regularly frame what artificial intelligence is all about. So how does AI work? Now, as I said, in order to impart intelligence or impart work, a system working like a human being, AI systems have to learn and improve through exposure to vast amounts of data, because data is what is crucial. Unless until we have data, nothing can be done. So vast amounts of data, identifying, like what we are trying to do with the patterns data is we try to understand the patterns and relationship that humans may miss. And also with this intelligence, the machines can work out beyond the human intelligence. So this, and as I told you, this intelligence can be imparted through learning process, which often involves what? When it involves algorithms which sets rules of instructions that guide the AI analysis and decision makings. So, as I told you, when we are trying to, as artificial intelligence is a science which consists of multiple scenarios, like multiple disciplines, wherein which mathematics is involved, and then statistics is involved. Like you need to have machine learning and deep learning. Machine learning and deep learning, along with statistics as well as mathematics, help in building a model wherein which we train the system so as to acquire the knowledge and act accordingly. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, wherein which algorithms are trained or on labeled as well as unlabeled data to make predictions or categorize informations. And what is deep learning? So deep learning again is a specialization of machine learning which utilizes artificial neural networks with multiple layers to process information, mimicking the structure and function of the human brain. So now as I said, we will be talking about machine learning models, deep learning models, wherein which algorithms are being used for training the system, training the data. So artificial intelligence training models, like we have, when business talk about AI, they talk about training data. But what does that mean when we say training the data? What does it mean? So remember that limited memory artificial intelligence is AI that improves over time by being trained over new data. So as we know that machine learning is a subset of AI that uses algorithms to train the data, and they are used to obtain the results. So in a broader perspective, so there are three learning models. What the three learning models are: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, And then we call it as mixed learning, wherein which we have semi-supervised learning, wherein which supervised, mix of supervised and unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So machine learning, when we basically, the main content of today's talk is algorithms on the bias. How are these AI algorithms affected by the bias? So when we are talking about the algorithms, we basically use to train the data are machine learning algorithms, which have supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. So what is supervised learning? Supervised learning is a machine learning model that maps a specific input to an output using labeled data or structured data. So what do you mean by labeled data? You have the data wherein which a label is been assigned to the data, and then you train the model saying that, suppose for example, I have a data set to check whether credit card can be issued or not. So the label of the data is nothing but credit card is issued or not. Credit card can be issued or not. So this type of data is called as labeled data. So this labeled, now what are we doing is we train the system with 80% of data to check whether which type of scenarios help in issuing the credit card. And finally, with somewhere around 20 to 30% of data is being tested to check whether the model is working fine or not. So we have like multiple algorithms for this supervised learning. Again, in this supervised learning algorithms, we basically work out on classification as well as regression. So classification means either or result using binary like 0 or 1, so that the algorithm will say something either 1 or 0. And this is and we also have multi-class classification, which deals with different categories or types of relevant data to the specific need. Likewise, classification, we have a regression also. What regression means that whatever the end result depends upon it is a number. If suppose I wanted to find out the price of a house, then price of a house will be nothing but a regression problem, which ultimately gives you what will be the price of a house depending upon the SFT, depending upon the number of rooms or the provisions that are being given, etc., etc. So basically, classification and regression come under supervised learning algorithms, and you have multiple algorithms called decision tree algorithm, and then random forest, support vector machines, and then Naive Bayes theorem, linear regression, logistic regressions, all these things. So when coming to the decision trees, I'll just briefly give what is decision tree. So decision tree is a tree which gets the name because like this is a tree-like structure wherein which you have it uses a selection criteria called as attribute selection measures, which takes into account various measures like it can be like entropy or gain ratio or information gain, etc. So what we do in this decision tree is we select the root node, and selecting the root node is again based on this entropy, gain ratio, or information gain. Following this ASM, the decision tree can be classified, and the data is being given by the following subnodes until it reaches a conclusions. And then coming to random forest. Random forest algorithm is actually a broad collection of different decision trees, which will lead to its name. Like the random forest builds different decision trees and connects them to gain more accurate results. So these can be used for both classification as well as regression. And we have one more very important algorithm called support vector machines. And the support vector machine algorithm is another common AI algorithm that can be used for either classification or regression. But usually it will be used, we usually use it for classification. And this SVM works by plotting each piece of data on a chart. Like if you have n-dimensional space where n is equal to number of data points, then the algorithm classifies the data points by finding the hyperplane that separates each class. So and this is a brief description about support vector machines. And we have naive Bayes algorithm, and this is called as naive Bayes because it is based on Bayes' theorem and also relies heavily on large assumptions that the presence of one particular feature is unrelated to the presence of other features in the same class. So that major assumption is naive aspect to the name. Naive Bayes algorithm is useful for large data sets with many different classes. Like it may it can be used for supervised learning algorithms, basically in classification algorithms. And linear regression is a supervised learning algorithm wherein which which is used for regression modeling, wherein which we find out the numeric output. So it's mostly used for discovering the relationship between the data points, predictions, and forecasting. So it much like it will be working like SVM, but it works by plotting pieces of data on a chart with x-axis and an independent variable. Y-axis is the dependent variable. The data points are then plotted out in a linear fashion to determine the relationship and forecast the possible future data. And coming to logistic regression algorithms, usually uses binary value, either 0 or 1, to estimate values like from a set of independent variables. The output of this logistic regression can be either a 0 or 1. So this is all about a brief description about supervised learning algorithms, and you have unsupervised learning. This is again a machine learning algorithm. Of course, a machine learning is a subset of AI. We call it as AI learning model that learns patterns based on similarities of the data. So unlike supervised learning, this will end up with only a grouping of data rather than finding out the actual value. So unsupervised learning algorithms are used when the data doesn't have any label. So it is used to create models and evaluate the relationship between data points in order to give more insights to the data. So one of the unsupervised technique is clustering. So what does this clustering mean? So many unsupervised learning algorithms perform the function of clustering, which means that they sort the unlabeled data points into predefined clusters. So the goal is to have each data point which belongs to any of the clusters without any overlap. So what is that we are trying to do in this clustering? We are trying to group the data objects that behave similarly. And this similarity can be based on any measure, like we call it as similarity measures. There are multiple similarity measures like Euclidean measure, cosine similarity, Jaccard similarity, etc. In this, again, we have multiple algorithms like k-means clustering, Gaussian mixture models. And we have some algorithms which can be used for both supervised and unsupervised learnings. So one of those algorithms is k-nearest neighborhood algorithm, which is a very simple AI algorithm that assumes that all the data points provided are in the proximity to each other and it plots them out on a map, like to show the relationships between them. Now, after the proximity has been found out, the algorithm calculates the distance between data points in order to extrapolate the relationships and calculates the distance on the graph. So in supervised learning, how is this KNN used? As I said, k-nearest neighborhood algorithm can be used for both supervised as well as unsupervised algorithms. So in supervised, it can be used for either classification or regression algorithms. And in unsupervised learning, how is examples like you can use this k-nearest neighborhood algorithm for anomaly detection, that is finding out the data that doesn't fit into any of the clusters, and you can use it for removing the anomalies. And very, very important and trending algorithms are neural networks. So neural network algorithm is a collection, is an AI algorithm that mimics the functions of human brain. So these tend to be more complex than any other algorithms discussed till now, and have applications beyond some of the whatever we have discussed till now. So in unsupervised and supervised learning, it can be used for classification as well as pattern recognitions. Now we have discussed till now supervised learning algorithms as well as unsupervised learning algorithms. Now we will move on to reinforcement learning. What does this reinforcement learning is all about? It's a machine learning model that can be broadly described as learn by doing. What is like, suppose an agent learns to perform a defined task by trial and error until its performance is within the desirable range. So the agent receives positive reinforcement when it performs a task well, and negative reinforcement when it performs poorly. Like example would be teaching a robotic hand to pick up the ball. Now we will see what algorithms come under reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is usually composed of two major parts, like agent that performs an action and the environment in which the action is being performed. So the cycle begins when the environment sends a state signal to the agent that cues the agent to perform a specific action within the environment. So once the action is being performed, the environment sends a reward signal to the agent, informing it on what has happened, so that the agent can update and evaluate its last action. Then, like with a new information, it can take the action again. So the cycle repeats until the environment sends a terminal signal. So there are two types of reinforcement algorithms. Like either reinforcement, the algorithm can use either a positive reward or a negative negative one. So like we have model, policy. In reinforcement algorithms, there are slightly different approaches, like depending upon what is being measured and how is it being measured. So like there are like different models and measures, and these are like policy, model, as well as value. So you have value-based models as well as policy-based models or model-based models. So in value-based models, reinforcement algorithms, the agent pushes towards an unexpected long-term return instead of just forecasting on short-term reward. And in policy-based algorithms, usually it takes one of two approaches to determine the next course of action, like either a standardized approach where any state produces the same action, or a dynamic approach where certain probabilities are being mapped out and probabilities are being calculated. Each probability has its own policy reaction. And in model-based algorithms, the programmer creates a different dynamics for each environment. Like that way, when the agent is put into each different model, it learns to perform consistently, like under each condition. So this is about we have algorithms working for algorithms related to supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So as I said, that neural networks is a very important computational model. We will see what type of algorithms we have in this neural networks. So this is a common training model that AI usually works out. And a neural network is a system of artificial neurons. We sometimes call them as perceptrons, that computational nodes use to classify and analyze the data. So we have here the data is being fed into the first layer of the neural network consists of multiple layers, and you have an input layer, hidden layers, as well as the output layer. So the data is fed to the first layer of the neural network, with each perceptron making a decision, and then passing the information on to the multiple nodes in the next layer. So training models with more than 3 layers, we have, as I told you, we will be having multiple layers. So wherein which if you have more layers, we term them as deep neural networks or deep learning. So like some modern neural networks have hundreds and thousands of layers. So the output will be of the final perceptron will what does the output and final layer accomplish? It will accomplish the task set to the neural network, such as either it classifies an object or it will find the patterns in the data. As I told you, these neural networks can be used for both classification as well as supervised learning as well as unsupervised learning. If the data has labels, then neural networks can help in classifying the object, and if it doesn't have any labels, then we try to understand the patterns that are being involved in the data. So some of the most common types of artificial neural networks is feed-forward neural network. As you can see here, this is the oldest forms of neural networks where data will be flowing in only one direction. Now you can see here there are two hidden layers, hidden layer 1, 2, and input layer as well as the output layer. So the data is flowing in only one way through layers of artificial neurons until what? Until your output is being achieved. So in this modern days, like most feed-forward neural networks are considered deep feed-forward neural networks with several layers. There are multiple layers involved, as we call them as hidden layers. And if there are multiple layers involved, we call them as deep feed-forward neural networks. Feed-forward neural networks are typically paired with error correction algorithms. Now, there is a mechanism for error correction also. We call it as backpropagation. In simple terms, it starts with results of the neural network and works backward through to the beginning, finding errors so as to improve the accuracy of the neural network. Many simple but powerful neural networks are deep forward neural networks. And now very now prominent neural network now we have is a recurrent neural network. This recurrent neural network differ from feed forward neural networks in that they typically use time series data or data that involves sequences. So here also you have here input layer, hidden layer, and output layer with a recurrence. And it basically involves what type of data? It involves time series data. See, unlike feed-forward neural networks, this uses weights in each node of the network. So recurrent neural networks have memory of what has happened in the previous layer. So this is what is recurrence showing about previous layer as contingent to the output of the current layers. Like for instance, when performing natural language processing, this recurrent neural networks can keep in mind other words used in the sentences. So like RNNs are used in speech recognition, translations, and caption images. And we have one more neural networks, LSTM, long short-term memory is an advanced form of a recurrent neural network, which can use memory to remember what has happened in the previous layers. As I told you, recurrent neural network also has memory, which is storing, which will know what has happened in the previous layer. So what is the difference between RNNs and LSTM is LSTM can remember what happened several layers ago also. But in RNN, it is one layer backwards. But here in LSTM, you will have like memory with respect to several layers. So this can be accomplished using memory calls. So LSTM is often used in speech recognition and making predictions. And we have very prominent neural network called convolution neural network. This includes some of the most common neural networks in the modern artificial intelligence. So, and we use this convolution neural networks mostly for image recognitions, and then image recognition. CNNs use several distinct layers. You have a convolution layer, pooling layer that filter different parts of the image before putting it back together. So the earlier convolution layers may look for simple features of an image, such as colors, edges, before looking for more complex features in additional layers. And generative adversarial networks, this is the latest adversarial network, which involve two neural networks competing against each other in the game that ultimately improves the accuracy of the output. So one network creates examples and the other network attempts to prove true or false. So GANs basically are used to create text, images, etc. So having said that, till now we were talking about the AI algorithms. Now we till now we have discussed what is artificial intelligence and what is how is AI models worked out. So we thought that machine learning as well as deep learning algorithms help in accomplishing artificial intelligence. Now we will try to understand what is bias. So, and what is bias in AI? And general terminology, AI bias is nothing but inclination towards certain things. That is what is bias all about. Now, when we are talking about bias can be termed as a systematic error that is being occurred producing unfair outcomes. So when I say that bias is a machine learning, bias in machine learning or bias in artificial intelligence occurs when the algorithms used to analyze the data reflect and amplify the biases already present in the data itself. So this can happen at various stages. Like, as you know, we have like when we are looking at working out with an AI model, we have a real world wherein which we gather the data and then we apply the model and then review it and finally tell about the actions. So when we are talking about the bias is nothing but the inclination or can be termed as systematic error. This can occur at various stages of machine learning. Like as I told you, what are the various stages? We start with data collection and then we collect the data and make the data ready for data preparation. We call it as data preparation, wherein which the data is being ready. We call it is even as a pre-processing technique, which helps in making the data ready for applying the model. So next step is we select the model and then implement the model and then model deployment. So biased data can be the result of incomplete or unrepresentative data sets, biased assumptions in the algorithms. There will be even biased assumptions in the algorithm development process or perpetuating of existing prejudice in the training data. So when we talk about understanding bias in AI or machine learning, the bias can be like from the beginning as the life cycle goes on, from data collection to understanding or choosing the model, and then after choosing we prepare the data and then choose the data and then apply the model and then deploy the model. So this is how the bias can look into. So like the biases in machine learning can be there can be like biases can stem from various sources like data bias, algorithmic bias, and human bias. So coming to the data bias, this can occur when does this data bias occur? So this can occur when the training data reflects societal prejudice or historical imbalances. For example, I take that if suppose I wanted to tell that students of a particular college are they intelligent or not intelligent? It all depends upon the sample I take upon. So a sample of data set that is being taken upon, if I take very good creamy students as my sample, and the model gives me a result saying that the students of that particular college are very good at academics. So like an algorithm trained on data sets with a major, and one more example, like if my algorithm is being trained on a data set with a majority of male loan defaulters, like might be more likely to deny loans to future male applicants, even though if their credit worthiness is similar to the females. So this has been occurred because of the data set that is being taken upon which the model is being built on. So this is all about your data bias. And and we'll just have a brief discussion about algorithmic bias and human bias. So algorithmic bias is a choice of algorithms, and its inherent assumptions can contribute to biases. Like, for example, I can say that if I suppose algorithm relies on distance metrics, might have a like, as I told you, you have multiple metrics upon which your algorithm is depending upon. And if it relies on distance metrics, might disadvantage groups geographically isolated from the desired resources. So this is nothing but your algorithmic biases. And what is human bias? So the decisions made by humans throughout the ML machine learning pipeline or AL pipeline, from data collection to feature engineering, can introduce biases. So for example, like choosing features that perpetuate stereotypes can lead to discriminatory outcomes. So this is what is all about your human bias. So say for example, now we talk about, as I start with understanding about data bias. Now you look at, if I look at, just if you can see this particular data set, now you have here dogs as well as cats. This is nothing but a this is the data set, where labeled data set, wherein which I'm trying to figure it out whether the particular input figure which is been given is a dog or cat. Now see dogs here, the training data consists of dogs as well as cats. And if you can see, dogs are all in black color and cats are all in white as well as brown color. So this is the training data that has been given to the predictive model. And when a dog of white color is given as a test data, the answer that I have got with the model is a cat. So this is because, like, this is like because of the training data, which where it's a straightforward like photos of cats and dogs, and it includes only photos of black dogs and either white or brown cats. So when we confront a photo of white dog, the AI categorizes it as a cat. Although real world training data is rarely so cut and dry, but the results can be just as wrong with major consequences. So this is like if you, about the bias in data. So bias in data can show up in several forms. Like you have historical bias, representation bias, measurement bias, and then bias in modeling, evaluation bias, aggregation bias, and then association bias. Historical bias is already existing bias in the world that has seeped into our data, and this bias can occur even if you give perfect sampling environments and feature selections, which tends to show up like for groups that have been historically disadvantageous or even excluded also. So this is about historical bias. And now coming to the representation bias, this can happen from the way we define the sample of a population to create a data set. So this, when you have a data set, a population, and you take some sample of data which represents the entire sample, then, and if that particular data set which is being taken as a sample is biased, then definitely, obviously, you will be getting an erroneous results. I can give you one more example, like data used to train Amazon's facial recognition was mostly based on white faces, which will lead, it is leading to issues detecting darker skinned faces. So another example, if I can give, representation bias is a data set collected through smartphone apps, which can end up like giving lower income or older demographics. So that is all about representation bias. And then you have measurement bias also. This occurs choosing or collecting features or labels used to predictive models. So data that's easily available is often a noisy proxy for the actual features or labels of interest. So furthermore, like measurement process and data quality often vary across groups. As AI is used for more and more applications, like predictive policing, this bias can have a severe negative impact on people's life. And then you have here evaluation bias. And the evaluation bias occurs during model iteration and evaluation. So a model is optimized using training data, but its quality is often measured against certain benchmarks. So biases can arise when these benchmarks do not represent the general population or like not appropriate for the way the model will be used. And finally, aggregation bias. Aggregation bias, as we have discussed, arises during model construction where distinct populations are inappropriately combined. So here aggregation itself tells that your data, this is all about data. If you, when you are collecting a data from a population, and if that sample represents a combination of all the population, then you will get a proper data. If your sample is biased, then obviously you will get a biased, erroneous result. So like there may be many AI applications wherein which the population of interest is heterogeneous and a single model is uniquely to suit all groups. So example, if I can talk about one example in healthcare, say for example, diagnosing and monitoring diabetes. Models have historically used what we basically use to identify or diagnose diabetes is HbA1c. That is the test for past 6 months to make the predictions. So like these levels differ in complicated ways across like multiple things, and a single model for all populations is bound to exhibit bias. And association bias, data that are labeled according to stereotypes is an example of association bias. Like most online retailers, when they are searching for toys for girls, you will get an endless assortment of cooking toys, dolls, princess, and pink. And if you search for toys for boys, then you see superhero action figures, construction sets, and like you have video games, etc. So this is all about the we till now, as I told you, we started with 3 bias: data bias, and then algorithm bias. Now we will be looking, and then human bias. Now, what is AI? When I wanted to talk about AI algorithm bias, I just would like to give a small to few points. What is AI algorithm? AI algorithm is nothing but a set of instructions to be followed in calculations or other operations. This applies to both mathematics and computer operations. Computer science. So an algorithm is much more complex than what most people learn in algebra, of course. So a complex set of rules drive AI programs, determine their steps and their ability to learn. So how do algorithms become biased? Now, with the advent of this predictive systems are on rise now. So machine learning and AI technology have generated enormous benefits for business. So should we trust a machine to make the right decisions? This is a provocation. Now let us understand the bias, algorithmic bias. Now we have here a rule-based algorithm which says that if person dot ethnicity is African or American, credit deny, else credit grant. So when you have formulated a rule base saying that if the person ethnicity is African American, your credit is been denied. So the bias is international and it is been obvious. So before, machine learning algorithms were written only by humans. Only malicious developer would write like such type of rules. Now, if I say, for example, the same rule saying that if person dot zip code is equal to 38131, then credit deny, else credit grant. So this looks little bit better than the previous rule, wherein which until this is like the bias can be or may not be intentional, but less obvious until you learn that the zip code of 3813 is nearly 100% African as well as American. So a statistical model might suggest such a rule, less obvious but equally bad. A principal developer or statistician can still catch these if they are vigilant, but and then they can relatively fix it. So when you see here, these are the rules that are being generated, which here it is obvious that the bias is intentional and it is obvious, but here the bias may be intentional but is less obvious. Now in the two scenarios which we have seen earlier, this is a small selection of data wherein which we are running on a decision tree. So the bias is unintentional and far less obvious. Now, if you have a decision tree algorithm like this, the algorithm is made of hundreds of decision points, and at each point there may be biased. So the combination of decision points might be biased too. So that's millions of responsibilities wherein which you get a biased decisions, and it is not so easy to fix up. So this is the case with decision trees. Now, when we come to artificial intelligence, where neural networks are being involved, now see, if you have here input layer and an output layer with an multiple hidden layers, wherein which you have the weights associated with it, and you have even back propagation also. So if you look at this, the bias is unintentional and totally obscure. So this is all about the bias of bias, algorithmic bias, AI algorithmic bias. Now, what another example? If suppose I say I'll take a explicit rule based AI, if C system me, then output you are right. If C system my enemy, then greet you are wrong. So black box, like you are training the data with multiple hidden layers, then you either end up with right or wrong, and this black box will help give you the algorithmic bias. Now, the third point which we are talking about is bias in real life. Now, you all might have seen Microsoft Twitter chatbot Tay. The technology can sometimes generate responses that sound correct but are in reality nonsensical or incorrect, or even just slightly off. So certain problems or questions relating to math and physics can be particularly tricky for the bot. So it's only been trained for a data before 2021. So it draws a blank when asked about anything current. So many of you all have seen, this is like Twitter trolls took advantage of Tay's repeat me capability of deliberate inputting in offensive messages. Now coming to the Facebook translation, this also has this translation also is a failure, wherein which the picture has removed a worker, saying that instead of identifying it as good morning, something else is being identified. So bias in real life, and you can see Apple's new credit card. Apple's new credit card may give higher limits to men than women. Goldman Sachs, which issues the card, said that its credit decisions were based on customers' credit worthiness and not on factors like gender, race, age, sexual orientation, or any other biases prohibited by the law. So this is how the biases in real life affect the decisions. So IBM research has seen that at every stage of building a model, like starting from pre-processing, training, data, build, test, deploy, data biases are being checked and mitigated, and model bias are checked and mitigated, and data bias checking also is being mitigated, and according to the feedback is being again worked out. So mathematically, we have like bias y cap is equal to E y cap minus y bias y cap. That is nothing but E y cap minus y. This is all the mathematical calculation of the bias. And to say that, like when we are talking about the algorithms in bias, and as I have shown you previously, multiple algorithms like linear regression, decision tree, random forest, and bagging. Linear regression has high bias, decision tree has low bias, random forest also has low bias, and bagging also has low bias. So what are the ways to reduce high bias in machine learning? So reducing bias, like you have identifying addressing bias in AI begins with you can use more complex models. So one of the main reasons for using high bias is like just excuse me, yeah. So the main reasons for high bias is very simplified model. It will not be able to capture the complexity of the data. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Something has gone wrong. I can't, yes, yeah. So, or else you have increase in the number of features by adding more features to train the data sets, increase the complexity of the model, reduce regularization of the model, and then increase the size of the training data. So examples of AI bias in real life, you have multiple examples like in healthcare, unpredicted data for women or minority groups can be skewed in AI algorithms, and then applicant tracking systems, online advertising, image generation, predictive pause tools, and so on. So how are we going to reduce bias and AI governance? So identifying address and addressing bias in AI begins with AI governance, or the ability to direct, manage, and monitor the AI activities of an organization. Like in practice, AI governance creates it creates a set of policies, practices, and frameworks to guide the responsible development of usage of AI technologies. So when done well, AI governance ensures that there is a balance of benefits that are being bestowed upon business, customers, like society as a whole. So through this AI governance, companies can build can build the practices of compliance, trust, transparency, efficiency, and fairness. So what are the challenges due to the bias in artificial intelligence? So as I told you, we were discussing the challenges are data bias, which we have, as a recap, the challenges due to the bias in artificial intelligence, which we have already seen, is we have seen data bias, we have seen algorithmic bias, and then we have seen already human bias, and then lack of diversity in AI development, evaluation and auditing, ethical considerations, and then even overcoming bias trade-offs. So this is as I have 5 minutes of time to explain this, or should I wind up because the other?
You can proceed.
Yes. So I'll just give a few lines about what is data, and just a recap, which we have already seen. So data bias is the most challenging difficulties, and in minimizing the bias in AI is dealing with data bias. So when training the data to construct the AI models, the inherent biases or reflects the societal preconceptions has to be mitigated. And as a result, AI outcomes will be unbiased. And then coming to the algorithmic bias refers to biases induced during the design and implementation of the AI system, which is the critical difficulty. If algorithms are not thoroughly designed and not evaluated properly, then we may end up with adding new biases to the data. If at all data already has the bias, now we are additionally adding the bias, which is nothing but AI algorithms. So AI algorithms must be prepared to be equitable and open, as well as accountable to the address the algorithmic prejudice. And coming to lack of diversity in AI development, the absence of diversity in AI development seems like this is a significant impediment to properly tackling bias. Uncovering and correcting potential bias during the development is difficult without various opinions and experiences. So diversity within AITMs is critical for revealing biases, challenging assumptions, and developing more inclusive and unbiased systems. And also we should have an evaluation and auditing mechanism. As I told you, what IBM is incorporating at each stage to mitigate the biases. So, and evaluating and monitoring is also, for this bias, is also a difficult task. First thing, it's a difficult task and it has to be evaluated at each stage. So otherwise the tendency can grow or evolve, making regularly checking AI systems for biased conclusions, which is critical. So now ethical considerations is very important, and ethical norms as well as standards are critical in establishing justice, which is accountable for artificial intelligence systems. So we have to overcome bias trade-offs also. For example, decreasing one sort of prejudice may unintentionally introduce another. So such type of things has to be taken care. Finding the correct balance between the bias reduction and system performance is again a difficult task that demands significant thought and trade-off analysis. So what are the impacts of bias in artificial intelligence? So the impacts are discrimination, unfair decision-making, trust and reputation will be affected, and amplification of the social biases. So the mitigation strategies for reducing biases in artificial intelligence, like you have to do proper data pre-processing, and then you should have algorithmic transparency and explainability, regular auditing and monitoring, diverse development teams, next ethical guidelines and standards, and user feedback and redress mechanisms. So these are the mitigation strategies. And whatever is being taught, I have just recapped. And thank you. Thank you. And if any queries, I can answer.
Ma'am, one query is there in the chat box.
Okay. Yeah. So coming to k-means and k-nearest neighborhood, whatever you said is absolutely correct. As I have seen, this is like a more complex model may not improve the accuracy, correct? Sometimes it all depends upon, again, what I believe is the data. Suppose, as we know now, the neural networks are more trending and gives an absolute gives more result, doesn't imply for all types of data sets. So the neural network models for water body identification, then correct. I agree with what you have said, because all the time, even though the so-called promising neural networks or promising algorithms might not work for certain type of data sets. Because if your data set is simple and it doesn't need a complex mechanism, then definitely, obviously, your accuracy of the model reduces. And coming to the k-means clustering and k-nearest neighborhood algorithms, k-means clustering is like you define k. K is nothing but the number of clusters. Here, k-means clustering is nothing but number of clusters, and k-nearest neighborhood is the number of neighborhood points, data points. And what you do in k-means clustering, you fix up the number of clusters. And then if suppose I have a data set, suppose I'll show you. If suppose I have a data set consisting of 10 points, and I define my k to be 2 or 3 clusters. Now, what I do is I randomly pick up 3 data points as my centroids. And what I do is I find out the distance between my centroid C1, C2 to all the data points. Whichever distance is less, I throw my data point into that particular cluster. And now what I will have 3 clusters. And what I do iteratively or reshuffling the clusters till I get that there is no change in the clusters, like number of data points that are belonging to the clusters, there is no change. So that k is number of clusters, but here in k nearest neighborhood algorithm, where k is the number of neighbors to the data points. So you fix up the proximity measure, wherein which the number of nearest neighbors have been found out, and accordingly you will find out the clusters. So that is about the k nearest neighbor, and then yes. Yeah, I think I have answered. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Participants, any questions? Ma'am, I think everyone was clear with your session. Ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the session. The session was really amazing, right? The basics to the top and with the person. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, shall we start the second session, sir? Mithun sir is here.
Ma'am, I am there.
Okay, sir. Shall we start, sir?
Okay, you asked me only. I thought you were asking, sir. Okay, yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
No. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll start with an introduction. So now we'll start the second session. Today we are privileged to have Dr. B.N. Mithun with us for the second session of today's FTP. He is the professor and head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, specializing in cybersecurity at APS College of Engineering in Bangalore. With 18 years of experience in the field, he holds a PhD and focuses research on natural language processing, big data analytics, and the metaverse. Sir has published over 20 research articles in national and international conferences and journals, showcasing his expertise and contribution to the academic community. Some of his notable achievements including translating a Python programming textbook for diploma students from English to Kannada under the AICTE translation scheme. He is also a member of the VTU technical dictionary team where he has worked on data management system and data analytics. Additionally, he has translated 15 NPTEL video lectures on Java programming in Kannada and has contributed over 30 to Kannada Wikipedia, enriching resources available in the language. For his outstanding contributions, he has received the Hemia Award from Radio C 91.1 Also, he received a Gold Partnership Award from Infosys, addressing his commitment to education and community service. Throughout this workshop, we will explore AI governance and regulation. How can we able to build the responsible AI system? We encourage everyone to actively participate and engage with Dr. Mithun sir during this session. Without further ado, let's welcome Dr. B.N. Mithun and get started with. Sir, please take it.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. After listening to a technical session from ma'am, let's little deviate, or I can't say deviate. Let's have some other. Ma'am, can you give me screen sharing?
Sir, you're 1 second, sir. I'll ask the.
Okay. Okay. Until then, we can. I mean, I just keep my talk on. So as I was telling, we had a session just now on a completely technical topic on talking about bias and fairness in AI, right? It was a very good session. Hello. Thank you, ma'am. I got it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I hope screen is visible. Okay, I keep myself simple, or I keep myself very much easily understandable things, because the topic is little different from the technical things. Yes, we are all teachers. We know how to handle these technical things, but also it is very much required to know how do we govern all these things. And we are also administrators. Some people are administrators. Some people are, I mean, most of us are leaders, or most of us are handling people, handling students. Handling students itself is a very big task. Upon that, since it is an AI world, we need to also handle AI. Let me share my experience, maybe roughly around 1 year back or 1.5 years back. When somebody told me in the meeting, there is a tool which gives what you want, and which would generate the document what you want, which would write the letter what you want, which would uh, develop a paper itself what in which domain you want. It was like, is it really doable? Our first question was like that. Then no, then when we opened it, when we saw that, it was like, wow. Then we got to know so many things. It's a model on a, I mean, I'm talking about a chat GPT as an example, or any language model as an example, or any generative AI. We all know that this is a new era what we are experiencing it. That means AI was there from pretty long time, but this has given a greatest turn, greatest twist, or greatest deviation, or whatever we can say, in a for the human being. Now, if you say for anything and everything, we just say ChatGPT is there. Instead of saying Google is there, we have just added a new word, ChatGPT is there. Thereby, we have changed our mindset, we have changed our plan, we have changed our thoughts. Why to write? Why to wait? Why to search? Why to think and write? Keep it to ChatGPT. So this has shown us many dimensions, or I mean, I stick on to the constructive discussions on that. This has given many things to work on. Even a person who doesn't know what to do, what not to do on some specific topic can easily do the power of generative AI. I mean, I'm just taking an example of generative AI because it is happening. Though my discussion is not only on generative AI, we just have a AI as an example to discuss. But I took generative AI only because that can be easily suitable at this point of time, and we can easily relate how do I manage, right? So keeping this in mind, I have lengthy agenda, but all are simple. Nothing to think at this point of time. It's 7:45 or 7:50 in my watch. So not to think that, oh my God, so I mean, it has so much of things. My slides are not so attractive, or not so what I say, funky, or design or animated thing. I don't keep usually like that. I just wanted to draw attention on the right hand side of my slide, where it completely talks about the governance thing. If everybody could able to observe the diagram there, AI looks like very small circle in complete governance of a corporate world. I have taken corporate world only because I'm considering that as an example as of. It doesn't mean as an education institution or any other entity other than corporate can't talk about AI governance. It's still available, has to be done. I've just taken this example. Frankly speaking, I couldn't find the exact diagram for AI governance other than this corporate. I couldn't edit that. That is a frank opinion what I wanted to give. But keeping that corporate aside, if we say organization governance, even there, I think most of the things would works there. But if anybody can observe, AI governance is very small circle or very small unit what has to be taken care in any organization, but it is very much powerful on the other end. If you are unable to deal with AI governance, it would result in so many other things. So we all know, maybe I'm working in some college, I mean, I'm referring to as college. We know we have many varieties of governance. We have many administrators to take care, principal or dean or HOD and all these things. Upon all these things, somewhere we have something called as IT department or separate set of IT services where they take care of all these issues regarding to IT. And remember, we also talk about many things in that particular thing. The internet is not working and all those things. That was other way of understanding. Yes. Now we are much more deviating towards IT. In that we're talking about AI itself. My discussion, I keep it very much simple. I just explain whatever little much of knowledge I have regarding governance of IT in an organization. There might be many things other than this, what is available. Please feel free to add that onto my discussion. You can stop me at any point of time and say, you can, Mithun, you're telling is somewhat different. You can add this. I'm ready to accept that, because even I've still going through this phase of dealing a responsible AI. I mean, the statement is really very good there on a topic. It says responsible AI. That itself makes us to say our work is half done there. It's not only AI, it talks about responsible AI. So when you say responsible AI, it has more weightage there. AI we know. When you say a responsible AI, it is we also have a responsibility. The person who deals with also have a responsibility. So whenever you design something with respect to AI platform, that platform has to be designed, has to be developed and deployed with ethical consideration. I underline only that point a lot, because everybody would have experienced by now how well the existing tools available for AI as making somebody unethical now, or how people are drawing into that. So ethical consideration plays an important role when you talk about the word responsible. We should know how well the things are responsible. We have seen many movies which has come, Robo movie or some other movie, where we could see how well the robots would react for a person who have developed it. Keeping those entertainment sector aside, coming to the organizations, especially in our educational organizations, we know how well the AI should be responsible. Yes, ethical is one, accountability is one more thing. Who has done it? Who has created it? Who has made it? That plays a very important role, where the blame goes on to one another and there is some issues happening in the organization. The third is on transparent practices. Yes, that should be very much known to us, what should be transparent, what not should be transparent. We can able to explore many such activities in that perspective. And also, it is not only a question of ethical and accountability, it also should have something on the fairness. Some privacy has to be there. Nowadays, if you could able to see the usage of the social media, you don't know anything which is private, which is not private. Many times we should understand it is a social media, not a personal media. Then keeping this as a responsible AI, even if you talk about WhatsApp, you have Meta AI, you have Messenger, you have Meta AI. It has become so, what I can say, it forces us to use that. It forces us to make use of it for some or other things. So we should be in a position to understand how well it is responsible. Yes, I'm not talking about much onto this part, but we should be in a position to know a responsible AI should be like an elder son or a daughter in the family to take care what is happening in the family. I refer a family as an organization that has to be in a position to say how well this responsible AI will deal with the complete organization, because everything and anything has become a part of AI at this point of time. They should obviously speak, should have or should own the responsibility of becoming a responsible AI. So it is required. Then what has to be done as a responsible AI? What can be done? So as I said, it is like completely on an ethical practice, or sorry, ethical principles. And again, the question might be there. What does it mean? What is ethical then? The question might be there. Say, for example, do you think using a generative AI, developing a research paper is ethical? I don't answer some of the questions uh, for intended reasons. Uh, but we should just think of all these things. Is it so? In that case, how do you say what is not ethical? Is copyright is the ethical? I mean, copying somebody's data is ethical without giving a courtesy. Anyhow, we know all those things. So, as a responsible AI, we should focus on having the ethical principles into the applications of AI. And also, the important thing along with that would be on mitigating risk. Yes, we got some risk. How do we deal with it now? With responsible AI, would be able to work for that. And negative outcomes, what are the available outcomes? What might be the outcome in a negative manner has to be checked out. But our intention, as I said, responsible AI become a elder person in the family who will take care of the positive outcomes always. Yes, there may be some here and there negative, but that should be focused on positive things. If keeping all these things in mind, if you say governance is required, why it is required then? If I say it is responsible, if I say it is already a responsible thing, then why should I bother about governing it? Why should I bother about governing it? Just give me 1 second. Just give me. Sorry for the inconvenience. 1 second. Hope the screen is visible. Oh.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
But not in a slideshow. Now it is
Now,
okay.
ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, slideshow is available. I mean, is it visible?
Yes, sir. Now it is okay. Now it is okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the hindrance. So what I was telling is, even if you say it is responsible AI, the speed in which the technology is growing, the speed in which uh, it has become well versed or wide usage, it is required to it is required to have a governance for this. That means it is required to keep an eye on it. It is required to have what I can say. It is required to check what it is, how it is, and all, because it has a direct impact on many things. If assume now, if I'm using a responsible AI for my own company, I have a very big company of many people working under me. If I don't use this AI for a responsible AI at a proper way, we know how it works, how it destroys something. So the first thing is on why do we need a governance is very simple. So we should talk about the impact on the decision making in the society that always has to be considered in our mind before we do it. And the word which already we have the last session we're discussing on risk of bias. That plays a very great role when I talk about it. We don't know what it would be dealing some point of time. So privacy violations, yes. We don't know the date that these LLMs would extract the models in data in so many ways. we should be very much careful in seeing what is private. I mean, by using all these data visualization tools or all these social media platforms. And the third thing is mainly on the accountability and the trust what we have on AI systems. Many people would have saying, many companies would have told we are banning generative AI because of many reasons. They may have their own internal AIs there. So because there should be a confidence on the system what we have developed, it might go beyond some limit. So all these are required to govern. So we cannot blindly accept what has been done without having a governance for that. We are the people, we govern ourselves as a democracy. Likewise, we have developed our own AI tools. We should be in a position to govern those also. It's like we have done, we are managing it. Both are in our hand itself. So we should be in a position to, what do we say, handle what we have created it. So our college, we will handle. Our AI tools, what we have developed, we will handle. Something like that. So I just ask a question for ourselves. If anybody has any answer to say, you can put it in a chat window. Why is governance important for AI? Anybody can quickly put some words in the chat window. Let me see what other answers we could give. Just single word, need not be a sentence. Buzzwords or keywords, what we could say. What we can add it for our own things. I just stopped the screen is visible still. Yes, there is one explanation which talks about because we are ourselves are not taking the responsibility. Okay. Anybody else who would able to answer and just drop a any word? Why do we need to govern AI? Or why it is important? Yes, sir. In democracy, governance is in all the fields. Yeah, security is again an important thing that is also required because so only I use the word privacy. Maybe both are in other perspective what I'm talking about. Yes, security becomes a greatest thing. There is again a debatable discussions when you talk about other security issues, what's happening in the thing. Yes, risk management is also an important things what we need to observe here. Thank you very much for that instant quick replies, quick decision. Yeah. Yes, fraudulent. Yes, I mean, we all know when we talk about this, what we say, AI in its next level, how well the frauds also increasing, how well the other side also is increasing a lot. We could able to easily identify. So keeping all these things in mind, governing an important task or governing an AI is very much required at this point of time. At least we can give a glimpse to all these things. It may be theoretical aspect what we're talking about, but it's required to have. So what we can focus on, if that is the case, if you say I should govern the AI, what all I should focus on? There are only 5 things. I can't say only 5, main 5 things. You can add much more to this. There are pretty more you can add on to this. One first thing I go in the reverse order. As I said, ethics is very much required because anything we plan to do, we stick on to our own ethics. The culture, I mean, the work also has ethics, what we plan. Teacher has his own ethics to follow. A student has his own ethics to deal with it. And everywhere the word ethics is required, but that has to be aligned to the ethical standards. And question might be there. I'm not talking with respect to one context or a geographical context. Say, keeping a world as our complete assumption or imagination, can we have an ethical rule or ethical standards for AI as a world? That might be a little difficult because each and every country, since it is democratic country, some countries are democratic, they have their own rules and regulations for everything. We know we have our own IT Cyber Act. Sorry, Indian Cyber Act, Indian IT Act. Sorry, Indian IT Act. Likewise, every country has their own act for specific things. there should be an ethical standards to be handled for this responsible AI. That is very much required to be an governing things what we have. But I don't know, the time when the government takes a decision on this and it becomes a standard, we may end up with some other extra things to handle it. So that's what happens sometimes because it is so so quick to change it there. Second important thing is on privacy and security. That is, I mean, as you already told, yes, protecting user data and ensure system security is 101% important. We all know we have given our own fingerprint in Aadhaar, how it has to be used on. That is the best example to give. We have our own DigiLocker to use on. See, we have given everything, but how well we ensure that? I'm not commenting on that, but I'm just saying the scenarios or the examples where it is. Accountability. This is, I mean, just we can think for a while. Yes, suppose assume now in a department or in a college, in a company, a team of 5 people have developed one AI system. Then, okay, they would have changed their company, they would have gone somewhere, they would have changed the team, but AI system is still working. At some point of time, if something goes wrong from the system, how do you know who is responsible? Yes, agreed, you can have some all these agreements and all those things. That has to be governed properly. So for that we need. So we should know how these are accountable, how we can have. Upon that, if you wanted to make it accountable, the things has to be transparent. So we should be known to that. Whatever we are doing as an AI thing has to be transparent. And as we have CCTVs there, take care. As we need to have something like AI should be in a position to handle. So that is always required to have. Anyhow, this fairness, I'm not able to recall as exact example for this at this point of time, but fairness also plays an important role to prevent biasing. Biasing at what point of time? Anyhow, just now we have experienced detailed discussions on that. I don't want to go back to that. So we should be in a position to know how well the outcomes are. Is it really fair? Is it really fair? The judgment is fair or the outcome is fair? Is what the 5 principles, what I am saying. Sorry, what I am not saying. Strictly speaking, I'm just again taken from the Google only. But I mean, this would be the 5 important fairness topics what I have shown. That would add much more things also. You can also talk about the human first approach also in this, or you can add much more things depending on the. And when I was going through, I could also see that somewhere was telling these principles may also change depending on the. I'm not saying not these 5. I'm saying along with these 5, there may be extra things depending on the organization or a type of organization. So because we have seen AI in everywhere, you name the thing, you have AI there. So every sector you could say a garment industry where you could have AI based things to check the precision of stitching what has been made. Recently I saw that thing. You talk about a packing industry, there also you have AI based thing. Mean to say you have everywhere the AI information, AI based dealings or AI based technologies involved in that. So we should be little changing or little deviate, adding on to the principles what we have, but at least we can keep all these 5 as our things. If that is the case, what is the first step we should plan? As a company, suppose if I'm running an organization, first step is to know the goals, what has to be done. We have 2 steps, only 2 simple steps there. First step is to have a proper goals of this governing, what I should make it. So I have a company, I have my own set of rules and regulations. Only we have discussed that bigger circle in the first slide itself. We have our own rules and regulations in a company. Whatever I have a governing roles or a governing goal for AI, that should link with these requirements. I mean to say, the objectives of the business as well as the regulations what I have for my company. I mean, again, the question might be there, who should do this? The top level management, the top level entities or top level people has to deal with it. But the framing and all those things, along with the discussions with everybody. It's not that I know I do it. It may not happen sometime, but we should have a separate proper outcome for this. So what should happen if in case something goes wrong? What has to be done? If something is there, somebody is not dealing with it properly, what has to be? If it is not handling it is suffering from bias, what has to be done? If it is not having a proper fairness, what has to be done? So those things has to be specifically mentioned here. Upon this, when you define the goals in a very straightforward way, in a very simple way, next thing is you should have a cross functionality. The moment if I say AI, we all know AI is a bubble on so many other things. It has come as an application of a cap on so many things. It is on IT, right? On IT, it has come. So when I say it is on something, you should also have so many other areas you need to focus on. We cannot have only AI or a person from IT. Also, we should talk about legal issues or legal team. And we need to talk about a compliance team or data science team or a data team or an HR team. So we should have the people from all these domains, maybe some more also depending on your organization. And you should have a team to handle or to govern the AI in a very proper way. Also, all these things should be in a position to know how well you could able to give different perspectives when a decision making has come. Very simple example I could give, may not be relevant to the IT industry. Say, for example, I am working, I am having a garment industry, or I am having a shirt manufacturing thing at my place. I own it. I can use AI for all these things. Yes, I could use AI, I could use data science, I could use all the data engineering, I could predict blah, 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 and all those things I could do. But before I make a decision, I should check for all these diverse effects or diverse perspective in handling it. I cannot blindly say, yes, I did it. Yes, AI has given the solution. And we go from this to more. I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm not saying it is right, but we should be thinking. What I could say is, yes, AI is given, but upon that, human brain is much more important because we are top on AI since we developed AI. That's what I feel always. So we are the boss. We are the people who could able to decide properly. Sometimes it may happen. No, this may not work out. No. See, one simple, silly example I could give at this point of time. Don't take me wrong. A Google Map, when we check sometime, no, we show some route. We may somewhere think, do we really go like this? Can we change the route and check it out? I mean, I've experienced many a times I would have gone faster than the Google Map shows. I'm not saying something I'm doing it there. If we know the routes properly, we could able to achieve that. So likewise, even though AI has been taken for many such things, we play an important role as human beings to take a decision than relying upon that. So we should have these two steps in a industrial and organization. Moving on, what all we can do it is first important thing as we discuss on those two steps, and we should have two committees which has to be developed. There might be one or two extra committees also. I have just compiled all those things into two committees. That is more than I think to be able to govern all these things. One thing is on AI ethics committee, other is on data governance committee. In the first circle, which I was shown, the figure which I was showing, it was shown that data governance and AI ethics would somewhere intersect, or there is an intersection between those two. Definitely it is there, because AI cannot go without data. Data can't be handled without AI, something like that. So AI ethics committee is what it should focus on. It is only intended to take care of AI-based ethical issues or AI-based biasing or fairness or transparency issues. It should put a complete or strict what I can say, straight line or a border. This is my work. This is what AI should take care of. Something like that. On the other hand, data governance should talk about or should handle that information which is regarding data management, data transparency, data protection. Yes, both comes under AI governance itself, but we have divided into two separate divisions. One is on AI ethics and data governance. So that AI governing has become an umbrella for these two committees to handle it. In any organization, we have taken one example. I'll come to that. We could able to give just a glimpse of it. depending on the availability of the time there. That is on one thing. And the next thing is on, if that is the case, okay, if I say these are the top committees what we have, who should handle all these things? Or who is the person who will deal with it? Or is it like I put it for complete team? I mean, let me take a simple scenario again. I have completed my engineering. I have joined the company as a software engineering in some company I'm working at. It is a company of 100 people. Then in that case, I have joined as software engineering. Now, who will deal with this ethics committee or data governance committee? Is it I can able to join a committee or there are some other people? Yes. So that also has to be taken care properly. It's not the question of experience I'm referring to here, but decision maker plays an important role as we discussed in the previous slide regarding the usage of ethics. So keeping that in mind, I just say the role of leadership is very much important in AI governance. A fresher joining and working in AI team is something different in a responsible AI team. And a person who is in a decision-making position having usage of responsibility is somewhat different. So we should, anyhow, I'm not saying something new in that statements there, but as a leader, he plays a very important role to have a governance. Very simple example again, maybe I'm owning a department, maybe I'm the dean of the college or somewhere. You have so much of information getting flooding like anything from so many AI sources. Might be for admissions, might be for connecting conferences. You may get so much of papers, conducting workshops like this. You may get held n number of requests or thing. And we all know one thing we always get from all the things are we get lot many proposals for lot many companies stating we give training, we give placement, we give training and all those things. And let me say why I'm taking this example. We get all these things. We listen to everybody. We may get at least one person in 2 persons in a week to say, I am a company, I come and give a training, I'll give placement assistance. We may get all these things. Yes, we take all these things. Suppose I wanted to give a training for some other company. I just check it out. Let me check the Google, what it says. Let me check what it says, whether the Google review is proper. Then I can take a decision. Or I can ask somebody who's working there. Somebody would have come out from that company or some from that training division. Yes, we do all this background verification before we do it for a thing. Now let's not discuss much. I have AI tool. I may give this company name here. I ask the questions ABC. What will you give the answer? It might give some answer. Now the decision is mine. Whether on the AI discussion, AI result, what I got, can I get the result? I mean, can I take a decision? Or I already made a survey on my own with some my own other sources. I have a result. Can I take a decision now? On what basis? Shall I strictly go on to the AI decision? I mean to say AI report, or can I rely upon the survey what I made? See, again, I play an important role. In to say, as a person who is a decision maker, plays an important role to talk about this, what has to be taken. Because of which I am saying a leader is very much intended or important or very much required to be a very key person in an AI governance. So whether he is a CEO or CTO or executive or whatever term you refer it to as, or HOD or a principal or a dean in an education institution, whatever you refer it as, they play an important or a vital role, and their commitment plays very much required in making it as a responsible AI. Yes, it is responsible AI, but making it actual responsible, their roles plays a very important role there. Because I would have seen the company from past 10 years. What is my company role? What has been done and all. AI could give a solution, agreed, but it may not be in a position to say this is what is happening. And I always feel, maybe not be, nowhere I would have mentioned that. When I take a decision, I also add humanity and emotion there. If AI takes a decision, I don't think it does these two. So that also plays somewhere an important role to check out what I am focusing on, where my role is required, where I should intervene, or where top level leadership to take care of AI governance and all these things. That also matters sometimes. So in that is the case, what is the responsibility of these leaders? They should have a proper direction or a strategic direction to adopt AI. That word is very much important to understand. It, since it is available, it doesn't mean I capture everything and use it in complete thing. As I said, many companies have restricted the use of generative AI because of known reasons. So it has not to be shown. And everyone knows who are in the call. It was told by a developer who is working in a company. I always open two windows in my laptop or a working bench. One is my Google, one is my working window, other is my Google window. Because anything and everything, I don't know what is happening. I Google it and I copy paste it. Now, I think they would have replaced Google window with ChatGPT. If that is the case, as a leader or as a in charge or a CTO or CEO, whatever we refer it to as, he plays an important role to say, how do I set a decision direction which is full of strategies for a adoption of responsible AI. And also, if I am adopt, accountability plays an important role. Again, I think this accountability, I could give one very simple example is NBA accreditation. We say you should be accountable. Very simple example. We say criteria 1, you are the in charge, you are accountable. Criteria 2, you are the in charge. I think most of them are faculty here, assuming that by seeing the participant list, I'm saying that I'm taking this example. Assume now NBA is taken care by AI. Many will be happy, I think. Most of them will be happy if NBA is taken care by ChatGPT or responsible AI. If that is the case, how do you account? What is the accountability in that perspective? So that plays an important role to say, how do you ensure the accountability at every level of it? Might be AI usage in a college is something different than a company's perspective. So please have that proper differentiation in our mind. We'll discuss all these topics. So accountability at every level is an important thing. And we should also talk, how does it ensure? Yes, other word comes into picture now. Now the people are there, they have planned everything, then how do we handle risk? How do we manage the risk? Just now we have this, we could see in the chat window, one of the professors has told that risk management is also an important thing for responsible AI. So we know all these things. If that is the case, how we be able to plan this risk management? Again, these two things are not at all new for us. We know when we say risk management, identifying risk is required, mitigation of risk is required. But again, if you're talking about AI-based risk management or AI risk management framework, we should be in a position to understand how do we deal with the risk associated with AI use cases. Anyhow, biasing, I don't want to focus much on that. Security threats and legal risks. Everybody can able to understand that. Suppose assume you have developed LLM or an AI tool, whatever is available. If you don't have a geographical understanding or geographical consideration, I don't think it is giving a proper required results there, depending on geographical conditions or geographical locations, as I said. So for that perspective, legal risk also would pop up sometime. Legal issues also might pop up. Legal issues also has to be considered because of these things. Yes, I have a risk. I got the risk. I got to know what is the risk. How do you handle? How do you mitigate the risk? How do you deal with it? So that also has to be taken care with proper AI models. And remember, AI models once developed, once you install, we cannot think the work has been done. There the work actually starts, because it has to be updated. It has to be modified. It has to be changed at regular intervals. What has already been done. ChatGPT itself says, as per my knowledge in 2019, this is the output, but we want something out after 2019. So in that perspective, this risk mitigation strategies for risk management under responsible AI require completely human intervention when it is high decision. I mean, just now only we took an example of human intervention there. So we can be able to sense or sensitize others also where we need the usage of or involvement of a person as a person itself. I don't want it to scratch at it so much. Cool. We just go for 3 or 4 slides more. So it is 8:23. So we have 2 more things to be understood. One is on legal and regulatory compliance. So this I could take an example of a blockchain for a while or a cryptocurrency for a while. Then I'll come back to this. We all spoke about cryptocurrency. We have experienced cryptocurrency from past so many days or past recent few days. But that cryptocurrency worldwide has some other existence. In India, it had some other existence. So these things, these technologies, what has come, could have come from west or east or somewhere. When it comes to the when it passes the geographical locations, there might be some bits and what I can say, if and buts, not possible, can be done, if in case. So all those things might happen, all those things will happen depending on the regulations what we have and legal issues what we have on a geographical location, talking about a country-wise geographical locations. So that has to also to be important or imparted in the AI-based thing under key regulations and standards. One example, what is given Europe AI Act. So only I said, as we have Indian IT Act, we should also have something like an Responsible AI Act, what the government is working on. Again, data privacy regulations. We talk about many such rules or plans or the laws what has to be implemented in the country also. There is one such thing what you could able to get from the Google is on general data protection regulations in some country. Also, we have CCPA, that what it was showing pop-up. The moment if I open this data privacy regulations, I got first pop-up is this only, CCPA. So as like this, do we have any Consumer Privacy Act? So that has also has to be taken care if it is a responsible AI. See, it's like we only made AI, we only made it responsible. We only need to have an act for that. It's sometimes, is it really required? But yes, for so many reasons, something I cannot openly debate it. Important thing, we always should talk about AI is on ethics. And I think many of them would agree with me. Nowadays, whenever a conference or a journal is happening, they may say plagiarism 20%, ChatGPT 0%. That is a normal statement they are making it. Plagiarism 20%, ChatGPT 0%. See, we have gone to that extent to say how ethical we are. So even IEEE has come up with ethics in AI. So that also has to be observed. It's not the question we just say, I developed AI, we are working on responsible AI, we stop it. Believe it or not, that becomes difficult for us to handle sometimes because of its infinite solutions what it gives sometimes. That is one thing. So we spoke about the team, the people, and the legal aspects of that. And we just slightly move to some of the tools available. I don't want to take much time there. So tools and frameworks. One example I have taken it, IBM AI Fairness 360. I don't want to scratch much there. And also on Google's What If tool. Both are, I think, it already heard the name. If not, you can just check with that. It just says there are so many tools available, and you also have some tools on bias detection and model audit tools also. And there are tools which would say you have taken from so and so. We know what does plagiarism check talks about. As like that, we also have some tools to deal with all these AI ethics toolkits, where these tools would really help us to know what is whether the decisions or whether the responsible AI is actually responsible, is actually doing what we expect it to do it. So these are the two tools, what I've just taken as an example. One was, another example was stopped there, so I couldn't take that. And auditing, yes, it is required, because more or less I cannot rely on all these things on a blind note. So the frameworks are one or two what is listed here: OECD's principles framework or World Economic AI governance framework. What is there? See, we have all these things at the global level. So only I said I cannot stick on to all these things at my own state level or a country level at some point of time. There might be slight change here and there, right? That is one thing. So moving on to that, I should be in a position to monitor these AI systems regularly, audit its system regularly, because there are some advancements happening here and there. So obviously, I should monitor this regularly to check how it is performing, how it is accurate, and all these things. So auditing is also required. See, monitoring is something different. Auditing is something different. Monitoring is check everything is working properly. Auditing is it giving right thing? We do lab audits, we do library audits, we do department audits. Likewise, we monitor department, we monitor library also. So auditing is, yes, required as an external person or an internal person. So we do internal audit sometimes. We may call IQAC people to do auditing. So these things are required for AI also. So sometimes you could feel AI is reduce our job or AI is make us free, but actually not. If you listen to all those things, AI systems have made us to scratch more. See, if ChatGPT was not there, would have blindly corrected all the assignments written by the students and would have given, yes, okay, done, fine. Because of ChatGPT, we say, what questions to give? How do they say they won't get the answer? So all this we start thinking. Don't you think it is an extra, we are having extra time to think now. We should plan for extra time to think. So this is what sometimes we may feel AI is not reduce our task. Instead, it has become more work to us nowadays. You have AI-based exam. It is very, very big story again. I don't want to discuss it now. You know, AI-based exam, how we could able to handle and how much work we may have there from that. So we could see all these things in respect to monitoring and auditing AI systems. Yes, we could able to do all these things. I have got responsible AI. I have made a team. I have a people to work on. I have people to take a decision. Yes. What is the role of the employee in that case? CEO made some decision. Top level management has taken some decision. Yes. What an employee should do? How does he or she know what is happening? Need not be an employee. It might be a stakeholder. How a stakeholder should know all these things. So it's always required known practice to us. It is not new for us. We need to have an awareness session. We need to have a training session. We need to engage them across the time, what is there, what not is there, and ensure how well you could able to have a dealing with this in a later stages also. And we should also in a position to know how well we are engaging these stakeholders, external stakeholders, or I can say end level customers or a society what we have. So that has to be spread across. As we publish our own policies, we should publish AI policies also in our website or all these other nomenclatures wherever we have. We should be in a position to deal with it. Anyhow, I just skipped this slide because I think I'm running short of the time. So challenges in implementing AI is all these known to us. It is pretty much easy to know that. Important thing is one word I should focus on, statement I should focus on is the governance team should be first aware of what exactly we're talking about AI, responsible AI. An unknown person working in some other firm, he cannot become a head and say this is what happens. That is very great challenge when we face dealing not only AI, but generally also, but here if it is AI, we just focus on that. And resistance to change, we all have experienced sometimes. No, I don't do this. Oh, Python, I don't teach. Likewise, when you got resistance, responsible AI, if you want to have a governance to this, there might be change. I mean, there might be a change resistance, or we say resistance to change. It's something like it may so happen. Do you want to take care of environment, or you should stop development? There is always this debate happening. Likewise, you also have innovation and ethical constraints. Whether should I not be innovative? If I'm not innovative, if I get some innovation, that might be deviating from the ethical constraints what we have. So these are again very what we say crispy layer between all these two things that has to be taken care. So how do you handle this? You should know proper education has to be given for governance. So we should also have ethical innovation. Wow, the word is new. Word is newly. We could get that word interesting there. Ethical innovation. So to overcome these changes, we should also have collaboration with many other people, so that we could be able to say if they are doing it, yes, we can also do something like that. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I need another 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes. I guess I can finish within that. Example I've taken as IBM's AI Fairness 360. I would have spoken on this in detail, but as a case study only, I should say only after all these things. This is an very interesting framework. Framework or a governance things what they have, IBM, which has given them provision to check how well AI is working in deploying, in development, report generation, fairness checking, biasing, all those things it has been in a position to check out. It would give much important things there. They have given what I can say, many examples to say this is what is there for this solution. This is what should happen for this. They have explained with real clear examples there. Uh, and since I'm delivering a talk for a great intellectual people like all of you, I have not purposefully not put those examples there. And this IBM AI Fairness has hit many things. Mean to say, it has given many observations. It has given many good feedback from the people who are using it. It is an open source thing. I forgot to mention it is open source thing. It can be used for identifying many things to understand or go through what is happening. But it has given an ethical, what I can say, it gives a benchmark to check out whether AI systems are in an ethical ground or it is following a ethical standard. So, an overall as an overall picture, yes, we are using responsible AI to make it more responsible or responsible on its own. We should have some governance team. Because of all these things, we should be able to work on these activities. So thereby, I pause for a while. I open it for questions at this point of time. Hope I have stick down to my time. Sorry if I was fast or if I was non-stop thing to discuss. Ma'am?
Nothing like this, sir. It was a great session. One question is there in chat box, sir.
1 second. From Jagdisha sir, ma'am, you're saying that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for this information. Sorry, I couldn't add this because of AI at this stage. Is it advised? Okay, asking question, sir. Is it advisable to have AI ethics committee in government departments? Yes, sir. Agreed. But I mean, as I said, no, sir. One thing is AI can give all these solutions. Ultimately, what I feel personally is that emotion part is factor is somewhere missing in AI. I strongly believe in that. If emotion and humanity ground was there in AI, that was been much more level. See, AI may say this person, means suppose if somebody, a dull student or a weak learner would say he is not studying properly, he is not working properly. AI may say he is not at all fit to be nothing and all those things. But we may feel something listening to his family stories and all. No, this guy will do it. Let him do it. We'll push him. That might be improving for him also. I mean, that's what I feel. Yes, I agree completely on this. We can use all these things. AI can make decision, but sir, again a debatable issue, sir, whether we can able to. I don't know whether I can put it in a in a mic like this, but is it really? We could able to work on this. Yes, sir. Agreed. Emotional based assessment is done, but I mean, I'm not talking. I understand, but my intention was to stick on to AI becoming emotionally responsive. So agreed, sir. I mean, we could able to work on all those things, interstate water disputes, all these things. We could able to use AI based things. Within a second, we could able to solve the issues. But all those things matters with decision makers' willingness to take a decision, even in spite of all these things. That's what I could able to say in that perspective. I hope I would have answered in my context, sir. Sorry if it is not up to the mark. Thank you, sir.
Participants, any other question?
Anu ma'am, yes, it is there. I mean, everything when we have IBM Watson is there, many other tools are there. It has its own challenges there also. It might be open source and all those things also matters there. It is there, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, even I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, while reading your profile, you have done a lot of things in NLP, like the translations or something like that.
Yes, ma'am.
So the same thing when it comes for an AI responsibility, all these kind of stuffs will be more work out to the all the benefit of all the peoples, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I completely agree with that.
Yes, but
Because
whereas we can say it will replace the human, those talks and all nowadays it gone actually even a matter of 2 years, right?
no, to be frank, even I was thinking like that when the AI all this came. I think it may create some vacuum or may create unemployment. But later on, I also understood there are more things to handle AI. When it
Yes, sir.
comes translation, including Google translation, lot many works are required only by human beings, not by AI.
Yes,
But
sir.
yes, AI would help in doing it. But all these would creating an opportunity for many people to work on.
Yes. Cool, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank you, ma'am.
you for your wonderful speech, sir. Shall we wind up, sir? Thank you for everyone who has actively participated for the third day of the FDP. Hope everyone got the sound knowledge with the talks of the two eminent speakers. Once again, thank you all. Kindly fill the feedback form which is posted in the chat. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, AMIE, for giving the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was very nice presentation, sir. We liked it. We gained a lot of knowledge also, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, sir.